Laura Hogan claims her condo was damaged during a shooting involving the defendant. She's suing for $4,957. Defendant Paul Chambers says he was shot by the plaintiff's jealous ex-boyfriend, and he's not responsible for the damage.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Third, get over to Thomas. You know, when people watch these court shows, oftentimes people go, why are they so popular? Well, I think it's because you learn a lot about the law. I learned something in your case that I wasn't even aware of. And it's this whole issue of who's responsible when a tenant is in a situation with a crime scene. You want Mr. Chambers to pay the cost of the damage done to the property that, is it a property that you own?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's talk about what actually happened here.
Sure. I know the defendant, Paul Chambers, for about 10 years.
Right.
We actually worked at a local contract company together. And as we started proceeding to work, he was a handyman.
Right.
I worked for the company as an administrator.
And you all maintained a platonic relationship. There was no intimacy going on?
Platonic
Right.
only, yes.
And he at some point was living in your condo?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you are the owner of the condo?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any particular reason why you decided to rent it to Mr. Chambers?
Well, Mr. Chambers and I were really good friends. Like I
Yes.
said, he was a handyman, and I actually resigned for the position we were working at the company called the Local Contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I started to do my own invested property company, and I just started to let him renovate.
So you were investing in multiple properties for rent?
That's correct, yes.
Did you initially live at this particular condo?
Yes, I used to.
And then where did you end up living when Mr. Chambers moved in?
Well, prior to the story, I actually had a new house that's like
So
down
you
the street
moved from the
him.
condo to the house and decided to rent out the condo?
That's correct.
Now, Mr. Chambers, what caused you to rent her condo out?
Well, you know, we worked together for a long period of time.
Right.
As you know, I've known Laura for a pretty long period of time.
Where were you living prior to living in her condominium?
Well, I live not too far away from her.
Okay.
I live in an apartment of my own, but I didn't like the apartment too much.
And
it
you
wasn't
liked the
comfortable.
condo?
I liked the condo.
All right. So the two of you agreed, we have a relationship. You felt we would be a responsible tenant.
Yes,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
And so the two of you made an agreement to, you would be his landlord and you would be the tenant at the condo.
Correct.
Right. And how long were you living at the condo before this incident occurred?
I'm at the condo for 2 years.
So you were at the condo for 2 years, no problem?
No problem whatsoever.
Great
paid the
tenant,
rent on
paying on time, no issues?
No
Yes,
issues.
no issues.
Okay. And then we have the situation that comes up. So let's talk about that.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm an invested property manager at the condo that Mr. Paul rents right now. Prior to that situation, I was dating a guy named Jason. He was my boyfriend. He became very obsessive, very jealous, would go through my cell phone.
It was a nutcase.
He was a nutcase.
Nutcase.
Yeah.
And you're not disagreeing with that?
I agree with Paul.
All right.
He was very aggressive to me. One night that I actually attended one of my girlfriend's Christmas parties, I came back home one day and I proceeded to put my key into the door. He was behind me. And I was like so scared for my life, like, oh my gosh, who's behind me? Come to find out it was Jason. He pushed me into my apartment, choked my neck, was really strangling me as I was trying to proceed myself.
Now, was he doing
He's trying
this
to kill
while
her.
He was trying to kill her?
Trying to kill her.
Why was he trying to kill you? Had
He
you
was,
broke
he
up
was
with
just
them,
very
or-
jealous, very obsessive, would follow
Were
me
you still
everywhere I
dating
go.
him at this point?
Yes.
Why?
I mean, at
look
the
at
time,
her.
I mean,
Look
at
at
the
her.
time
Very
he was
attractive
really
lady.
a nice
Used to be in a clown
guy.
like
He
that.
was, you know, very charming. You know, never showed any
So
violence.
this was the first time that he showed any sort of a dark side?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, that's not true.
Yes, Your Honor.
I know of a few other times.
There were a few other times
There are a
before
few times,
this.
but not as violent.
No, that's not true.
Not as violent.
Okay. But there was something about Jason that was off.
Yes.
We can all agree to that.
No, we can agree to that, all right.
Okay. This situation happens. You continue to stay at the condo.
No, Your Honor. I mean, prior to him, you know, doing so much violence to me, I was just laid out
Well,
in
you
an
mentioned
apartment.
one occasion. Was there more than one occasion that he engaged in violence?
This was the first occasion
It's
that he
not the
gained in
first
Was
violence.
there more than one occasion?
As far as
Was
putting
there
his
more than
hands
one
on me,
occasion
no.
where Jason
More
was
than
involved in violence?
More than one.
No, Your Honor.
More than one.
That's not true.
Okay.
Coming up on America's Court.
We
America's court is back with the case of Laura Hogan, who is suing Paul Chambers for $4,957.
Well, the issue, though, is what happened not with you and Jason, but with you and Jason.
That's correct.
Tell me what happened, sir.
One evening, she visited, left, everything's
condo.
normal. The condo,
Okay.
that's correct. She left, and a few minutes after, I hear a knock at the door.
Yes.
I walk to the door, I'm thinking, okay, Laura's back, maybe she left a phone, maybe she left a wallet. I opened the door. There's a gentleman standing there. I ask, what do you want? Before one word's being said, goes into the front of his hoodie, pulls out a weapon. Immediately, I'm in defense mode. I reach for the weapon, I switch to the left, shot in the stomach.
He actually, and this is Jason.
That's correct. But yet I heard more blast, blast, blast. So I'm scared. We're fighting. We move from the kitchen all the way to the bathroom.
So
I
you're
push him
throughout
against
the
the
whole
wall.
house struggling because you're trying to make sure this guy doesn't take you out.
I'm going to live.
All right.
If there's going to be any death, it's going to be him. I'm going to live. And so,
I understand.
yeah, that's right. I'm fighting, and we're tussling. Gun got off his hand. And of course, he's a punk. Turns around. He runs. I ran after him.
That figures.
Ran to the door. He runs the stairs, and he's gone. I stayed in. As I'm standing on the stairs, I feel a burning sensation. I look down. Burns here, burns here.
How many
Bullet
times?
here,
So you were shot.
bullet here. I was
How many
shot
times?
Twice. One here, stomach, thigh. Of course, I ended up going to the hospital. Fortunately, according to the doctor, if that bullet had touched the artery, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. Now, I took 2 bullets for Laura. 2. 1, 2. And so I don't see why she's expecting me to foot any part of the bill.
Because you didn't
that's
have
it.
insurance.
Well, you also didn't pay rent because you weren't working.
I couldn't. I
And
took
you
2 bullets for
covered
her.
the rent
Yes, I covered the rent for 2 months.
2 months.
So he didn't pay rent for 2 months, and he didn't pay the whole balance that's remaining from the biopsy company.
She's alive because of me.
From what I understand, there was a lot of blood.
Of course, I have images of it.
Please, I'd like
You'd
to
like
see
to see it. And
And
as you can
you
see,
had to have this whole
with regard to
thing-
the insurance, they're not covering
Everything
it.
for him?
The contamination, you had to have it cleaned and you had to go through a
Your Honor,
process.
I had to hire a biohazard company to basically remove all the blood stains in the condo.
I mean, there's blood all on this door and splatterings on the ground and the carpet. Wow.
And at least it's not her
Did he
blood.
get shot at all?
No, not at all.
Who could have foreseen that would be an aspect of insurance that they needed to make sure was covered?
I've never heard of
Because, see, the law is very clear on if a tenant damages property, and then there's renter's insurance for theft, God events, in terms of earthquake, hurricane, tornadoes, and so forth. It's a very specific thing to be in a situation where you are entitled to be compensated because you have to pay that cost. Now, was the total cost $4,957?
That's correct, Your Honor. But
Was
he
a
still
month-
owes a
wait,
month of rent of $1,475.
That's included in this.
That's correct.
So, she
I'm not
comped you
working.
for, sir, I have a question. She comped you for 2 months' rent, and it's $1,475?
That's correct.
All right, so that's what, $2,950?
That's correct.
That she comped you. So the question becomes, should she have to incur the cost of an additional month's rent as well as the remaining cost for the biohazard cleanup?
Right.
That's the issue.
Which was
Her boyfriend shot me, not my boyfriend. Her boyfriend.
Sir, you don't have to go over it. I already understand. I understand exactly this. And I understand why you would feel like she shouldn't get anything.
Your Honor?
Yes.
In the lease, it actually specifies the damages
that.
and what type of insurance
Yes.
within the lease.
All right, so Mr. Chambers, you've given me all the
I did.
information in terms of damage to property. Did you highlight this in orange?
That's correct, Your
Tenant
Honor.
is also responsible for any and all damages the property sustains, including but not limited to damage done by a third person.
It's not a person.
I understand. Anything else?
Your Honor, Paul and I have been really great friends.
I know.
I really sympathize for his situation. That's why I actually took the time out to go to the hospital, take care of him, Your Honor.
I heard you.
And in return, she's a good person. She's a good girl.
I heard you. Based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel must come down in favor of the plaintiff. Because the problem here is you signed a contractual agreement that specifies third persons. I would imagine that most people would not imagine that they needed to make sure their insurance carrier included these sorts of situations. So this is what we tend to call a teachable moment, because for anyone, whether it's because of a sketchy neighborhood or there's someone in your past, this is a good time to review your renter's insurance policy as well as your lease agreement and make sure that if that situation isn't covered, that you may want to consider that. Because the law says I have to side with her because of the contract you signed. And unfortunately, if your insurance doesn't cover it, you do have to incur that cost, sir. And it feels unfair. It is what it is. Judgment in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $4,957. That is the order. Case closed.
All rise.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $4,957.
I'm really sorry that Paul got hurt. Hopefully we can continue on being friends.
This was an unfortunate event. I'm glad I'm still here, and I really learned a lot from the judge.